as soon as I left, bro, he's making out with this one and groping this one and kissing Trish Stratus and, groping, a Sable. And when I was watching that, I was like, bro, is this the writers or is this Vince? Because Vince knew darn well, Chris, those girls could not say no. And that was always very troubling to me.
So Vince McMahon set out a statement as far as just not regretting participating in the Netflix documentary. However, he talks about how just really trying to clear his name as far as the documentary is concerned, there are some misleading things. Janelle Grant's attorney sent out a statement also, said that his behavior is criminal. He said, the attorney said, Vince McMahon physically and emotionally abused, sexually assaulted, and human trafficked Janelle Grant for more than 2 years. Calling his horrific and criminal behavior an affair is delusional and nothing more than a sad attempt to save his shredded reputation. Although Mrs. Grant has not seen the Mr. McMahon docuseries, we hope it shines a bright light on his abhorrent and criminal actions by accurately portraying the realities of his abusive and exploitative behavior. Your thoughts on the statement, one, and two, I mean, based on what you told me before, there wasn't a lot of that going on to make it seem like it was a smear campaign toward Vince.
Yeah, Chris, I got to tell you this, though, because this is the most important thing to me. When I was, bro, the Mr. McMahon character started when I was working. And, bro, how it started was after Brett punched Vince in the eye. Vince's entire inner circle wanted to sweep it under the rug like it never happened. And I sat in that room and I said, are you guys out of your freaking mind? This is a historical moment. You're never going to see this again, ever. We need to take advantage of this. That's when Vince went to the studio and cut the Brett Screwed Brett promo. So I was there from day one with Mr. McMahon. But here, Chris, I got to tell you, I was saying this back then. Bro, on my dime, the Mr. McMahon story was blue collar versus white collar. Mm-hmm. Bro, there were no women involved. There were no relationships involved. There was no making out with hot women involved. And I'll tell you why, Chris, and you will understand this. I would have never in a million years written any of that stuff because I would have known if those girls felt uncomfortable, they couldn't say no, bro. They couldn't say no. So if they were uncomfortable, if they were married, if they had a boyfriend, if they had kids, whatever the situation is, they would have had to do it. Sure. And that's why I never would have booked that stuff. But as soon as I left, bro, he's making out with this one and groping this one and kissing Trish Stratus and, groping, a Sable. And when I was watching that, I was like, bro, is this the writers or is this Vince? Because Vince knew darn well, Chris, those girls could not say no. And that was always very troubling to me. Chris, I was in a position of power where I had a role on TV. I would have never sexually linked myself with any female on the roster ever, bro. I would have never done that, bro, because again, you know how the business is. They can't say no.
Yeah.
So you're almost forcing them to do something they don't want to do. So if Vince was the one suggesting all of that, well, bro, that says a lot.
You think you know all the wrestling stories? There's more you haven't heard yet. Join us on Backstage Pass.
To your point, Vince, I mean, Tony Atlas was talking about that. With Pat Patterson. He was like, yeah, he would, touch us on the pecker. And the pecker, touch us on the pecker. And then he would say, And then he would talk about how, would anybody, I think, the producers was like, would anybody say anything? No, what? And then, so then he would talk about, he talked about how, it was laughable because everybody knew that they needed a job. You know what I mean? So if they told on Pat Patterson, that could compromise their job. You know what I mean? So, they would be touched on a peckle, all the time by Pat Patterson.
I mean, Trish verified the story that I talk about it every single week. When she didn't do something they wanted, surprise, surprise, I lost the title the next day. She told that. Or you think I'm making that stuff up?
Yeah,
that's why I brought up the Braun Breaker stuff this past week.
Yeah. Stephanie McMahon didn't want the wedding on the pay-per-view, so less than a week before the wedding, he chokes her out and have a match with her on a less than a week.
Think about that, but bro, that's insanity, man.
Yes. Just because she didn't want her real life wedding as a pay-per-view segment. Man, yeah. There's more to talk about with this, but to be continued on another day. Until then, this is Vince Russo. I'm Dr. Chris. This is the Writing with Russo. Have a good night, everybody. So long.